one of the brown boards. And that's what we're aiming for on the left, where it says follow Albert Dock. Albert Dock is what we're looking for. This is a city, Liverpool, of about 500,000 people. And it was founded by one particular person, King John. He thought the site up the Mersey River was an excellent one for an easily guarded port, and said, right, get going. Start up a town. So it's been there, King John's reign, the biggest importer of cotton from the southern United States.
It closed as a high school at the end of the 1980s, and Paul McCartney was instrumental in establishing the Performing Arts School. You can do a degree in performing arts without doing a written part of the degree. So it is a pure performing arts degree. Paul regularly takes classes here. This year, Mark Knopfler of Dire Straits has been giving master classes in guitar playing. Rick Wakeman of Yes has been a visiting tutor. And the second year's big musical production this year, the musical director who was helping them was Andrew Lloyd Webber. That'd look good on your CV, wouldn't it? Yeah. In July, in the Philharmonic Hall that we'll be passing, say that the only thing he left with were the amplifiers he stole from the college hall. But all these suitcases are to represent the immigrants who passed through Liverpool. And the suitcases, they were done by a Canadian sculptor by the name of John King. And just coming up here, this iconic little statue, Super Lamb Bananas. Roy Rogers rode a horse called Trigger. When he visited Liverpool, he did a big parade through Liverpool. Hundreds of thousands, myself included, turned out to see Roy Rogers riding Trigger. When he got here to the Adelphi, he rode up the steps across the foyer crowds. Well, the staff were surprised because Trigger wasn't staying at the Adelphi. Banking, insurance, maritime insurance, particularly maritime insurance. We're one of the biggest maritime. And in the basement, the cellar of a fruit and vegetable warehouse, a jazz club opened in the 1950s. When the popularity of jazz waned, it became a beat club. And this is Matthew Street, here on the left-hand side. Now, just before as we walk down, there's a statue of John Lennon. It's the most photographed statue in the north of England. And I'll tell you a little more. There might be a bit of noise.
I like your idea. I want to go stand up next to you.
We'll gather round. Now, as I say, originally, all the buildings were fruit and vegetable warehouses. And on the right-hand side, the Cabin Club opened. This wall is the 1,700 who appeared at the original cavern. For those from Australia, Normie Rowe is up there. But it wasn't just the Liverpool bands. It was people like Eric Clapton, Rod Stewart, Freddie Mercury. All appeared at the cavern before they were famous. I'll show you. They're nice. Gallery, Beatles story. Lots of nice shops and restaurants.
It's like some in Chicago.
Well, I think there's a lot of places these days that convert the maritime areas into very attractive attractions, tourist attractions. But as I said, the places that I mentioned, particularly on the sailing ships, as we're going along, if you look on the right-hand side.
You put on formal wear, and then the sculpture above it, I did. But last minute, it's a little awkward, yeah. One Park West, 5 show apartments, and a health club.
Oh yeah, I know we went there and back before it is.
Maybe 40 days.
Oh, you did. I heard. I remember when they had some of them are like dead and some of them
I was sent the nuns when they were
some of them died.
Oh, you are good. Yeah. It's down to him to organise, and if it doesn't happen, it doesn't happen. So thank you very much for your...
I just asked a question.
Yeah. Thank you very much for that. Just sometimes the thing... I mean, if we had all been getting out to go to a hotel or something, but it's hardly going to walk up and down like that. The Liverpool Daily Post and Echo, and they had built themselves new quarters. They were around at the time of the American Civil War and that warship, the Alabama and the Shenandoah. And if anybody did make a film, there's a wonderful thing happened that would make a terrific beginning. Because in about 1901, a very elderly guy walked into their previous offices, not these, and said to the man, and so he had a world scoop on his hands by the standard of the day. Well, they did find him, but he was in what they bluntly called a poorhouse. They were very straight with their language then, and he was past telling his story. But he did have papers on him that shows that he had been on the Alabama. So, I don't know what happened to the guy on the reception desk. Got a bad reception, I should think. So you could start a movie, couldn't you, with that?
Yeah.
Old guy comes in and then we go back in time.
Great story.
I've occasionally taken parties of American college students on tours in Britain because sometimes their colleges hire a Trafalgar coach or two and send them around. And I don't know whether they all have it, but one of these college tours, they had a game they liked to play of holding their breath when going through a tunnel. Well, I can tell you they were blue in the face, this one. And not one of them got through it, actually. I don't think anybody ever could.